RT is in Austin, Texas, sitting down with George Friedman, American political scientist, author, and CEO of global intelligence corporation Stratfor, a leader in the field of global intelligence. Sir, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, my first question to you is, your corporation has been described in the press as the shadow CIA. Which one of your reports can you remember when you knew you were head of the CIA and the news?
I never liked being compared to the CIA. I hope we're better. But, for example, we reported 12 hours before the attack on Iraq in 2003 that war was coming on that day.
What countries are your clients mostly interested in?
At this moment, our readers are primarily interested, of course, in the Middle East and what is going to be happening there. But they have a very large interest in China from an economic standpoint, and increasingly in Russia, to try to understand what Russia is going to be doing and why they're doing it.
What kind of relationship are you expecting to form between Russia and the United States in the upcoming years? Can this relationship ever really turn into a partnership?
Well, in international relations, I never know what partnership means. You pursue your own national interest. Certainly the model of the 1990s was never going to be one that would be sustain itself. The issue now is whether or not the United States and Russia moves to greater geopolitical confrontation, or whether Russia and its economic problems forces it to go through another round of turning to the West. I think in spite of recent developments in the Russian economy, we are more likely to have confrontation than not.
How would that develop?
Well, it has already developed. The American intention of extending NATO to Ukraine and Georgia, the recent speech by Vice President Biden about the future of Russia economically and calling on Eastern European countries to support pro-Western governments, Russian relations with the Iranians and the Syrians, all of these represent a growing tension between the two countries. And the issue is how much deeper these tensions will go, and I suspect they will go deeper.
Now, one of your books forecasts events that would take place in the 21st century. Where and what kind of wars do you see erupting?
Well, I see a period of conflict between the United States and Russia that's already underway, but not a Cold War, because Russia is not a global power any longer. It is a regional power. The United States may become involved with Iran, but whether that would be an extended war is very difficult to see. But I see no serious way to predict a terrorist attack. It could happen, it could not happen. I mean, we don't know.
Your reports have suggested that the United States and some other Western countries are preparing a war with Iran.
Well, the United States has stated very publicly that in the event that Iran refuses to give up its plans for a nuclear capability, the United States does not intend to allow that to happen. There is a general agreement among the 5+1 that Iran should not do this, that there will be sanctions, and that if the sanctions don't work, other steps will be taken. So this is hardly some great secret that anybody is keeping. The United States will be confronted with the choice of a nuclear Iran or airstrikes.
Can the United States really afford another war?
Well, can the United States afford a nuclear Iran? Certainly we could afford another war. If by that do you mean do we have the power?
Financially at this point of the recession?
The recession is over. The economy is growing. It's been a very normal recession. And the most normal part is that everybody said the world would end because the world is collapsing. The world didn't collapse. If we take a look where we were a year ago to where we are today, the improvement in the economic situation is extraordinary. People don't have a very great memory. But I think it's a mistake to link the effort in Iran to the economy. It is not that difficult to take out their nuclear weapons.
What geopolitical event do you expect to be the most surprising for the world in the next 10 years or so?
Well, I think in the next 10 years, I would expect the United States to wind up in an alliance with Iran against Russia.
Really?
Yes. I think the Russian growth of Russian power, which I expect in the next 5-10 years, will represent threats to regional powers throughout the area. Poland, Romania, Ukraine, Iran. I think in the end, as we move past this nuclear question, you'll find a very different alliance. Never forget that the United States, when it became important, became the ally of communist China. Never forget when it became important, the United States became the ally of Stalinist Soviet Union. The Americans have always been able to form alliances in their interest with ideological enemies. And I can assure you, Mao Zedong and Joseph Stalin were worse enemies than Ahmadinejad.
George Friedman, thank you very much for your time with us.
Thanks for having me.